Blessings and welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast, a weekly and practical podcast with the intention to assist us as we walk along the paths of freedom and awakening, so that we, that is you and me, may set ourselves free to be in ever-expanding love and joy and peace and harmony and wholeness and abundance, so that we may set ourselves free to transform our lives over and over and over again, so that we may set ourselves free to forever allow for greater and grander expressions of who and what we are to emerge. All of this regardless of external conditions and circumstances, and with ever-expanding ease and grace. My name is Daniel Roquéo, and I'm your host. Blessings and welcome to the Path to Freedom podcast. This absolutely wonderful and beautiful and powerful podcast about what it is to be walking this path of freedom, what it is to be walking this path of awakening, what it means to awaken, what it means to release and let go of that which no longer serves, what it means to allow for the next great and grand expression of who and what we are to emerge. I am very grateful and honored that you're choosing to tune in. My name is Daniel Roquéo, and if you're returning, I welcome you back. If this is the first time you tune in, I, from the bottom of my heart, welcome you here to today's episode, which is called, and I need to see if I can remember, it is called Who and What is Beyond the Shoulds and the Have-Tos. Who and what is beyond the shoulds and the have-tos. And this obviously is the continuation of my personal experience, my personal journey. And if you have followed this podcast, it began, this particular episode, or this particular chapter, rather, of my journey began about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, as I, in meditation, and I'm not sure that I've shared this. I don't know. Maybe I have. Maybe I haven't. I was in meditation, and as I was in meditation, a vision, or more of a sense, came to me that within me, that there was the surface of me, and then there was like a nut, a walnut, and that walnut began to crack open, and I couldn't see what was inside. I didn't know what was inside. I only knew that cracking open, it was me that was cracking open. And so my life ever since has been in a continuous, my life is always in a state of expansion. My life is always in a state of something happening, but I don't know if so much healing has happened ever as is happening now. So this episode is just the continuation. Last week we talked about what are we saying yes to, and the week before that we talked about money. This is the continuation of that. Sequel, or what do you call the third episode? I don't know. It's the next episode of this series. Before we do anything else, we always want to begin in a moment of silence. We always want to begin in coming back to the nowness of this moment, centering ourselves, grounding ourselves. And so that's what we're going to do before we begin to explore the shoulds and the have-tos that we have in our lives and that I have in my life. So in this moment, as the meditation music begins to play, I invite us all to perhaps take a deep breath, allowing for tension to float away, allowing for peace to emerge. I invite us to make ourselves comfortable. I invite us to close our eyes. I invite us to put a smile onto our faces. That smile, obviously, it is a spiritual practice to smile. Not smile at anyone, but smile just because the joy is here, just because peace is here, just because bliss is here, harmony is here, love is here. And this smile obviously sends the signal to the body that it can begin to relax, that it can begin to produce and distribute these beautiful healing chemicals that slows down the aging process, that strengthens the immune system, and probably does a whole lot more. So we can keep our smiles lingering a little bit, and I invite us to gently tap between our eyebrows to activate that first eye, giving ourselves permission to be available, to be receptive to that which cannot be caught or seen or heard or felt with our human senses, that which is beyond this human realm. So we're activating the first eye, the divine eye, the spiritual eye, whatever we want to call it, so that we may catch that which is beyond, that which is in the eternal, in the infinite. And while we tap, let's remind ourselves that we are engaging in this episode, we are engaging in this podcast, in this moment to wake up to what we are. And that we are doing this work to allow for greater and grander versions to emerge, greater and grander versions of who and what we are to emerge. That's why we're meditating. That's why we're doing this work to begin with. So we can release the tapping. I invite us to place our hands in our lap, palms facing upward, thumb and middle finger touching as a sign of receptivity. We can turn our attention toward the breath, reminding ourselves that the body is, with its divine intelligence, it's fully capable and able of doing the breathing by itself. So the breathing is not dependent upon our conscious participation in it. We can simply relax, we can simply surrender to the body doing its thing, to the breath doing its thing. We also want to be aware that each breath has 4 stages to it. There's the in-breath, the space between in and out breath, the out-breath, the space between out and in-breath. And we want to be particularly mindful in that last stage, the space between out and in-breath. So that is typically where our attention drifts away from the breath. Being aware of this, being mindful of this, allows us to be fully present with all stages of the breath, and thus have our attention stayed on the breath for longer and longer periods and with ever increasing ease and grace. And so as we take on the feeling, tell them that all is well, let us give the peace that follows permission to move us deep, deep, deep into the stillness and into the silence. And if we want to keep smiling, we are more than welcome to do so. Our attention drifts away from the breath. Let's gently allow me to return it back to the breath and begin again. Come back to the breath and begin again. Let's come back to the breath. Begin again. Let's come back to the breath and begin again. Assign a brief moment, actually assign now, in this moment. Move us into prayer, an opening invocation. I invite us to remain with our eyes closed, our minds open, our hearts open, so as to give the prayer permission to lift our vibration even more, expand our consciousness even more. So profoundly grateful I am to be here in this moment. Be still, peaceful, silent, quiet moment. I'm profoundly grateful I am for the availability and the accessibility of the nowness in this moment, that it's always here. No matter where we go, no matter where we are, the nowness in this moment is only a breath away. It's only a slight turning of our attention. Whenever we tune in, whenever we anchor ourselves, center ourselves, ground ourselves in the nowness of this moment, peace is here, joy is here, harmony is here, wholeness is here, the sense of all being well is here. Because the nowness in this moment is not the same as past or present or future, but the nowness in this moment is beyond time. Past, present, and future, they are time. They are the linearity of time. The nowness in this moment is beyond all that. And so I'm grateful that we have in our toolbox the ability to come back to the nowness in this moment, and that we have the breath that so powerfully and so easily brings us back. And how I love to be on this beautiful path of freedom and awakening, to be a conscious participant in the awakening of my being, the unfoldment of my being, the expansion of my being, that I get to forever, that I get to closely look at the thought forms and the beliefs and the structures and the habitual ways of thinking that flow through my mind, that have been such a large part of my life. I get to observe them, I get to witness them, and I get to release and let them go, allowing for more freedom, more joy, more peace to emerge, not from the world, from out there, but always from within, from the true source, the one source of all. So I'm grateful that I get to do this work. I get to do this work. I don't have to do this work, I get to do it. And I'm grateful for your participation, for your choosing to tune in, for your choosing to join me, for your willingness, for your yes, for your courage to walk this path. And I'm very, very, very grateful for this podcast, for this healing space that it is, for the healing space that it provides, where I and where we get to do some deep exploring of what's really in our consciousness, of what's really in our minds, what our lives are like. Recognizing, obviously, that the one power, the one presence, the one love that I choose to call God, that is all, that is fully present in every space and place, and that is fully giving of itself. Being love, not only loving, but being love, it always gives fully and freely of itself. It holds nothing back. It seeks nothing in return. It has no conditions. It has no agenda. It only gives and gives and gives, provides sources, fuels, and funds. Ultimately itself, as it is every single being, object, moment, space, and place. It is the creation. It is the creator. There's no dualities. There are no opposites in God. There is only one. That we are one with, regardless of who we are, where we are, when we are. We're always one with the one. Always one with God. Always God being itself, doing itself, expressing itself in us and through us. Revealing itself. Giving itself permission, seeking to come into ever greater and grander expressions in and of us and through us. So there is no separation here. There's only absolute oneness, absolute unity. And I bless this unity as it reveals itself, as it expresses itself in us and through us in unique, perfect, whole, and complete ways. So I bless us, every single one of us. And I bless all creation, all beings, all plants, all animals, all objects, all spaces, all places, knowing that all is well in every single space and place, knowing that something wonderful is happening in every single space and place, knowing that everything is working for the highest good in every single space and place and world. Because the only thing that is God. The only thing that is happening is God. God is good. Always for itself. So I bless us. Bless us. I bless us. Bless us. Simply say amen. All right, so topic for today: who and what is beyond the shoulds and the have-tos. All right, so these last couple of weeks I've been scrutinizing, I have been closely observing how I move in the world and through life. And we talked about last week that in every single moment we have the ability to say yes to something, and in that yes, while saying yes to something, we're simultaneously saying no to something else. Inherent in every yes there's a no, inherent in every no there's a yes. And I have begun to really pay attention to what it is that I'm saying yes to, and this obviously arose out of this contract that I had and still have with this company that allowed for a lot of money to flow into my life. But adhering to this company and showing up, or contract and showing up, doing what they wanted me to do, was not in congruence, was not in alignment with my soul's calling. And so I began to say no. Actually, it was last week that I let them know that I was not going to be, I was ending this contract. And out of that, and obviously, and I began to end this contract because they less and less required my services. So the financial stability that had come out of this contract, it began to dissolve, it began to dissipate. So I was pulled by life, by God, into trusting. Because the only reason I ever said yes to this contract, the only reason I ever said yes to showing up, was the financial stability that it brought. Thinking, believing that that was the only way for this amount of money to flow into my life. And so I was challenged by God. No, not at all. But for me to go to the next level, God doesn't challenge, God doesn't test, but we are here to learn lessons. And one of the lessons that I'm here to learn is to expand my trust, expand my surrender, trust in the grace of God, the free givingness of God, that I don't need to show up in any particular way other than to be open and available for it, other than to make it welcome. But there's nothing required of me on the physical level. I don't need to deserve being provided for. I don't need to prove myself worthy to be provided for and sourced and fueled and funded. I don't need to qualify for it any less than any flower in nature, or any tree in nature, or any animal in nature. They don't need to do anything, accomplish anything. They don't need to be anyone in particular to be provided for. But abundance is part of the grace of God. Abundance is everywhere. And so this has my saying no to this company. Obviously, when I did say no, they've been calling like crazy, asking me to deliver my services to them. But I've stuck to the no, and I am sticking to that no. And it was yesterday, they called me once again, and they asked me to come in for about a month to do some work. And it's about a month from now. So I let them know that I was going to be thinking of it and get back to them as of today. And initially, I was very compelled to say yes. It's a whole lot of money that they're offering me, and I have plenty of time to prepare for it. I have plenty of time to plan for it. And then I realized that, or actually, then I was inspired to take a step back, and I realized that the only reason why I would ever say yes is because I had the sense that I should. or that I had to say yes. And then leaning into the question that we talked about last week, if I say yes to this, what is it that I'm saying yes to? And what is it that I'm saying no to? Is me saying yes, is my saying yes in alignment with where I'm moving? Is it in alignment with the healings that are happening, the shifts that are happening, the transformation that is happening now in my life? Or is it in contradiction to it? And I quickly realized that obviously, if I was to say yes to this offer, that would not be in alignment with the choice that I have made to move off in a different direction. So it became very obvious to me that if I am to honor the path that I am on, if I am to honor and really let go of my need, my false need to want to control and to want to know how things are going to unfold and how they're going to play out, if I want to honor that, I have to say no. And that realization invited me to begin to look at other areas of my life. There was something, it was also yesterday, I had my day planned in terms of some pieces of content that I wanted to record and some editing that needed to be done and some posting that needed to be done. But when I woke up, I was so darn tired. I woke up, I did my morning routine, and then I found my way to the couch after having dropped the kids off at school. Found my way to the couch, and I stayed there for a few hours, and then I made my way to the bed, and I slept for a couple of hours, and then I made my way back to the couch, and then I stayed there. And it was a constant battle in my mind between what I thought I should do and what I thought I had to do to keep moving forward, but what I wanted to do, what my heart and what my body was telling me to do. And so I began to and these two realizations, the tug of war in my mind when it came to how I was gonna spend that day yesterday, and also with this company reaching out to ask for my assistance, has led me to really explore and sort of flip every single stone in my mind that I've become aware of, every single choice that I'm making. This choice that I'm making, do I feel I should make it, or that I have to make it, or do I really want to make it? One of my things is that I'm constantly moving with a sense that there is not enough time. And so I do this thing twice a week when I take my daughter to some of her activities. And as we live quite far away from the city, I take her to the activity and then I stay in the waiting room or whatever. But I stay in that particular building until she's done until her activity is over. And then we obviously go back home. But I always bring my computer. I always bring work to that space where I have an hour that is solely my own. I can choose to do whatever I want to do, but I always bring the computer. And I always bring the computer not because I necessarily want to bring my computer and get some work done, but because I feel, or I felt that I had to, and that I have had to make use of that time. I cannot let it go to waste. So I should be doing work while sitting there, while having this hour that is completely for me to choose what I want to do with it. And so I realized, and I made the choice. And so what I realized yesterday was that me bringing the computer and me doing work, and this is like, it's between 5 and 6 p.m. So it's not really during working hours. Obviously, being an entrepreneur and having my own business, I don't have a 9 to 5 kind of work, but still, I do a lot of work during the day. I get up quite early, and I usually get some work done before anyone else wakes up, and then I have the whole day that is available for me to do work. So I don't need really to add an extra hour of work late at night, but I could spend that time, and that's the choice that I made yesterday, to spend this beautiful time to break free of my sense and my belief that I need to spend every single available moment to doing work. There's always something that needs to be edited. There's always something that needs to be written. There's always something that needs to be produced. I know that. I know that. But sensing, believing that I have to spend every single moment, that is in contradiction to me trusting Spirit. That is in contradiction to me wanting to expand my level of surrender. Because God always moves with divine perfection. God always expresses itself perfectly. There's nothing that I or anyone else of us can ever do to speed up anything. We cannot, as the beautiful expression goes, we cannot ever improve the efficiency of Spirit. A plant or a seed planted in the ground always grows up, unfolds, expands at the perfect timing. Manifestation always happens with the perfect timing. We can be increasingly open and available for it, but we cannot, and I cannot speed it up. But believing that I need to spend every waking hour in working or producing or achieving or accomplishing, that comes from a space of lack. So my fear of not getting enough work done, my fear of not keeping up to pace with not God's calendar, but my calendar, that arises out of a space of lack, a vibration of lack, which in turn, as the sacred laws can only reflect where we are in consciousness, as consciousness always precedes form. If I walk around, move around with the sense that I don't have enough time to do whatever I need to do to keep moving forward, first of all, I'm what is the word? I am negliging. Is that the word? I'm if so there's a balance between trusting and not trusting. And whatever I invest in the trusting that all is well, that something wonderful is happening, that everything's working for the highest good, that I'm exactly where I need to be, where I'm meant to be in any given moment, that everything's unfolding beautifully and perfectly. Whenever I negate, that's the word. So my bringing the computer and my believing that I need to spend every waking hour working negates whatever I invest in the trust. So trusting, as this is the theme, allowing for the grace of God, that God is providing, sourcing, fueling, funding, not because I accomplish more, not because I do more, not because I stress myself up more, but simply because I am. So there's a beautiful space where I am exploring all these choices that I'm making that arise out of a sense of should or out of a sense of I have to. And none of them serve us. None of them serve us. Because they're all negating, they're all sending the vibrational message that the good that I desire, the good that we desire, it is not here now. It's somewhere in some future moment, and there I need to perform this task, and I need to perform that task, and I need to get this done, and I need to get that done before this can manifest. And the more I do, the quicker it's going to manifest. That's not so. That's not so. The lily, the apple seed, The acorn, nothing in nature can be sped up in doing or by doing. We cannot improve the efficiency of spirit, meaning the more I try to speed things up, the stronger my vibrational signal is, or the more I am in vibrational alignment with the not having. So the more I slow down, which does not necessarily mean that I do less. It simply means that I release and let go of my notion, of my belief that I need to make it happen. And the more I do, it's going to happen. The more I trust, the more I take my hands off and come back to knowing and feeling that all is well regardless of whether I spend the whole day on the couch. I know that I'm not going to be spending all my days on the couch. I'm not a couch potato in that sense at all. But I'm very much moving forward, always. But I need to release and let go of my sense that I need to make it happen. I need to release and let go of my sense that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. It's not me that is doing any of this work. My ego wants me to believe that it is, and my ego wants me to believe that if I don't do it, it's not going to get done. But it's not out of the fear of not doing it that it gets done, but it gets done the most powerfully out of the trusting that in any given moment, everything is exactly as it is supposed to be. That God has got this. God has got all of it. God is at the back of everything. God is everything. So why should God not have got this? So there's this whole reconstruction of my mind going on. There have been so much should-haves. There's been so much I have to's in my life. I was another moment yesterday. I was on another couch in our house, and I became aware as I was lying there, I became aware that my mind cannot relax. My mind is incessant in trying to come up with the next tasks to do, the next action steps to take. It is incessant. And the more I relax, as I've been doing these last couple of weeks, I'm more relaxing. And the more I relax, the more I become aware of how stressed out my mind has been. The more I become aware of the habit my mind has of wanting to keep itself busy, of trying to figure out how to move forward, how to navigate forward. So I'm just recognizing and acknowledging and realizing that there's a lot of unlearning here for me to do. A lot of unlearning here for me to do. My soul, as it has been coming to me in my meditations and moments of prayer these last couple of weeks, began last week, that what is emerging now in us and through my life is a simple, peaceful, and quiet life. Simple, peaceful, and quiet. That is what my soul is longing for. That is what every cell in my body is longing for. A simple, peaceful, quiet life. And yes, I have said yes to being of service, to love, to light. And yes, I have said yes to being a point of healing, to being a teacher, to being a healer. I have said yes to all of that. All of that is in the making. It's unfolding. It's happening now. But for me to go there, I need to learn what it means to surrender. I need to learn what it means to relax. I need to learn what it means to trust, so that I can be the living embodiment of that. When people come to me, as many individuals do, often with the sense of not being enough or not having enough, I need to be the embodiment, the integrated beingness of what it means to have a sense of I am enough. Not because of my doings, not because of my actions, not because of my accomplishments, but simply because I am. Simply because I am. So there is such a beautiful healing happening. On the one hand, my mind is racing and I'm feeling very stressed. On the other hand, I'm getting more and more and more relaxed. A greater sense of peace than I don't know, than I've perhaps ever known before is emerging. A greater sense of harmony is emerging. A greater sense of joy is emerging. So even though I'm still experiencing, like I believe we talked about last week, some echoes from the past, some habitual thought forms lingering, there's a whole new being birthed. I've gone through the metamorphosis. Late last year, the beginning of this year, up until about a month ago, they were difficult. They were challenging as I was being pushed into this space. I was like the caterpillar that did not want to go into the metamorphosis, or actually that did want to go into the metamorphosis but could not find its way. So God had to push me into the cocoon. God had to shove me, to kick me into the cocoon, where the metamorphosis can happen, where it is now happening, and I'm sensing that the butterfly is beginning to emerge, where I get to tend to both of these wings, the spiritual and the human wing, simultaneously. I get to lean into trusting spirit. I get to lean into expanding my level of surrender. I get to lean into exploring what it truly means that God is grace. And at the same time, I get to attend to little Danny and his ways of being in the world, how he used to be, how he's always been. So simultaneously healing is happening on the spiritual and the human level right now. And I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. Yes, there are some, not some, the map of my life is being completely rewritten. The old map has been tossed away. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and I'm saying uncertainties, but really meaning that the mind has no idea of what is to come. My heart knows that whatever is coming is good. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how it's going to outpicture itself, how it's going to manifest itself, but I know that not only that all is well, but I absolutely know that something wonderful is happening, that everything is working for the highest good. So that which is emerging, that which is being midwifed right now, is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. having said all of this, we're all being invited to take a good look at the choices that we're making, at the motivation that moves us through the world. Are we doing whatever it is that we're doing out of a sense of obligation, out of a sense of I have to, out of a sense of I should, or out of a sense of this is the only possibility for me? Or are we moving through the world out of a sense of inspiration? And the one doesn't have to exclude the other. It's not a one or the other kind of thing. It doesn't have to be. It can be. It doesn't have to be. But this is the path of freedom. I've been calling it the, oh, and I was thinking about that the other day, or maybe it was this morning. When I began this particular journey about 15 years ago or so, it began with me realizing that I wasn't free. I didn't know what freedom was. So it began with me defining what freedom meant to me, to have a sense of what I'm moving toward. So in a way, that was my very first conscious intention that I ever caught. And the way I defined freedom back then, it was something like the freedom to follow my heart's desire, regardless of other individuals and external conditions. That was kind of the way. And that came up in my mind the other day, and I was realizing that that definition still holds true with me. The freedom to live my life as I want to live it, not the way I think I need to live it, not the way I think I should live it, not the way I think I have to live it, but the way I want to live it. So I'm coming full circle here. It's back to that. It's always been about that, but this is such a dramatic shift that is happening right now in my life. So I realized that we're back, not back to where I was back then, not back to square one, but I'm back to freedom being the prominent lesson that I'm here to learn. I've learned lessons of manifestation. I've learned lessons of stabilizing finances. I've learned a lot of, and all of these are a part of freedom, of the dimension of freedom, the dynamics of freedom. But I've been very focused on different other areas. Now it is freedom. Freedom is my thing right now. Freedom is the lesson that I'm learning right now. To set myself free, to set myself free from obligation, to set myself free from should and could haves and would haves, to set myself free from lack and scarcity, to set myself free to be in joy, even while not knowing how something or anything is going to play out, or how it's going to work out, or whatever. So we're always wise. We're always wise to be vigilant, to be observant, to be present with our motivation. What is it that is running me? Like we talked about last week, what is it that I'm saying yes to? By making this choice, or this choice that I'm about to make, what is it that I'm saying yes to? Am I saying yes to still shackling myself, to still holding myself prisoner out of a sense of lack, out of a sense of fear or worry or doubt, not being enough, not having enough? Or is this choice in alignment with freedom? And while doing this, obviously, we always want to be gentle and kind and loving towards ourselves, meaning that whatever comes up, whatever we become aware of, Let's not beat ourselves up over it. Let's not be mean to ourselves. Let's not judge ourselves or condemn ourselves. But let's be loving and kind. We have done wherever we are in any given moment, we're doing the very best we know how to do in that moment. So whatever choices we're making them from the level of awareness that we have, from where we are in consciousness in that particular moment. Yes, 10 seconds from now, I may have expanded my consciousness. I may be at a different level of awareness, which allows me to make a different choice, a higher choice. But right now, this is where I am. And it's not my fault. I'm not in error. I do not need to be fixed. And this obviously goes for all of us. We do not need to be mended. There is no original sin. We do not come in guilty of anything into this world, but sin actually means just missing the mark. So what that means is that sin from I don't know what language, it doesn't matter, but what sin means is that we make choices that are not the highest available choice. It is the only choice that we can make, but it's not the highest choice there is. So we're missing that mark, kind of like a sniper or an archer that is aiming at their target practice. They're aiming the bullseye. They're aiming for the bullseye. They're going for the bullseye, but they missed the mark. They missed the mark. So that's what sin means. So none of us are flawed in any way, shape, or form. Whatever choices we're making, it doesn't undermine our value. It doesn't diminish our worth. We're still worthy. We're still enough. So we're always wise to be loving and kind towards us, but we're also always invited to look at the choices that we're making. As we talked about last week, this choice that I'm about to make, or this choice that I just made, what is it in alignment with? Is it in alignment with who I wish to be, what I wish my life to be about, what I wish to experience? Or is it in alignment with something else? And as has come up for this episode, this choice that I'm making, am I making it out of a sense of I should make it, I have to make it, I need to make it? Or am I making it out of a sense that I want to make it? And there's a completely different, the direction, making a choice out of inspiration, out of joy, out of peace, out of love, out of trust, or making a choice out of fear, worry, doubt, they're completely different. They take us off in completely different directions. And we always have the ability to choose. Every single moment we get to choose. We get to make a new choice. We get to make a higher choice. It does not mean that we make quantum leaps all of the time. It does not mean that we choose to jump off of a high building, metaphorically speaking, without a parachute. I'm not saying that we need to make drastic and dramatic choices that completely alters the direction of our lives, unless we trust that that dramatic choice is the right choice. But beginning to move incrementally, step by step, beginning to become aware and dissolve the choices that we're making that are not in alignment with our highest possibility for our lives, with our visions for our lives, with who we wish to be in our lives, with what we wish our lives to be about, beginning to move in that direction, step by step, moment by moment, making small choices, tweaking the choices that we are making that perhaps are not in alignment with that highest possibility, beginning to move in that direction. That's what we're being invited to do. So no life-altering choices from the get-go, unless we absolutely know and feel that this is the right choice for me to make. But more incrementally, gradually, slowly beginning to shift our compass, not shift the compass, but shift the direction of our life, so that we, over time, move and choose more from being in alignment with the good that we desire, from what we wish to be in our life, from what we wish to experience in our life. Gradually. Like I am making choices now more that are in alignment with my life being a simple and peaceful and quiet life. I have not ever made choices in alignment with that before. Not, well, I most likely have. But when it has come to my business, most of the choices that I've made in my business have arisen out of a sense of I need to make it happen. Out of a sense of I need to do it. So, yes, that's what we're being invited to do, to look at the choices once again, become aware of which choices serve us and which choices do not serve us, and slightly begin to move away from the choices that do not serve us toward the choices that do serve us. And I think we're done. I think we're done. This is, oh my God, I so love being on this path. I so love being on this path. And I love that it was freedom that came to me that day so many years ago. That it was that my soul wanted to bring into my attention to begin to go for. It's been, I'm not gonna lie about that. I want to be perfectly honest. It's been a turbulent path. It's been very, very ups and downs, and it's been very dramatic sometimes, and it's been very difficult at times. But oh my God, it's been worth it. It is still worth it. Every single day, it is still worth it. God is good, and as we and God are one, it absolutely means that wherever we are, good is here. All is well. It doesn't matter if we can see it or not. Everything is working for the highest good. It doesn't matter if we can see it or not. Something wonderful is always happening. It doesn't matter if we can see it or not. God knows it. God is all of that. I don't remember if it was last week we talked about it, or if it was, no, it's a course that I'm in the process of creating. And some examples that came through to illustrate this is that on a cloudy day, when there is so much overcast and we cannot see the sun, we cannot even see, on some cloudy days we can see a bright spot that is the sun. But let's imagine that on this particular day, there's dense and thick and dark, heavy gray rain clouds. There's no sun visible anywhere. But we still know that the sun is there. Just because we can't see the sun doesn't mean that it's gone. It doesn't mean that it's not there. Another example that came through was on a very beautiful day, and the skies are beautifully blue, and the sun is up. But the stars, where are the stars? I can't see the stars. Does it mean that they're gone? Have they vanished? Have they dissolved? What's happened to the stars? No, we trust that they are there. Not many of us perhaps are thinking about the stars on a beautiful day, but You get the sense of it. Just because we cannot see it doesn't mean that it's not there. God is good, that's a principle. It's not up for debate. Yes, we can obscure our seeing. We can allow for mental filters to sort of cover that up for us. But our inability to see it, to know it, to feel it, does not in one little bit, in one iota, change the fact that God is and that God is good. It's only our inability to see it, to know it, to feel it. It is still so. It is still so. So we're wise, and I'm inviting us all to lean into that more and more and more and more, to develop that lily on the field consciousness. And the lily on the field, obviously, it does not spin, it does not toil, it does not effort, it does not struggle, it does not fight, but it's still so beautifully provided for. It is still so abundantly sourced, fueled, and funded, not out of doing, but simply because it is. So that's the invitation, that we lean into that. And yes, I know that the ego is going to put up a fight. It's going to serve us all these excuses. Oh, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to trust that which you cannot see? Because many of us are so used to relying on our physical senses to tell us what is and what is not, to tell us what is true and what is not true. But we are invited, we're all invited to release and let go of these physical senses and begin to trust that inner, that still small voice, that inner sense, that spiritual sense that tells us that even in the midst of this chaos, this turmoil, this turbulence, this drama, even in the midst of this, there's something within me beckoning me, urging me, nudging me into trusting. The ego says, show me God and I will trust you. And God says, trust me and I will show you. We're wise to trust and let God show us, as opposed to having to see before we can trust. We can go on for on and on and on and on, but we're not. Enough for today. I thank you so much for tuning in, for joining me, for participating. I'm going to lead us into a brief benediction, I believe it's called, closing prayer. And then we'll say our goodbyes and be on our ways. So in this moment, I invite us to close our eyes. I'm filled with gratitude. I am so filled with gratitude for this path, for this beautiful path, and for this space, for this podcast that allows me to explore these things in a way that I don't really give myself permission to explore them. So I'm grateful for this podcast, and I'm grateful for you, for your participation, for your contribution to this field, regardless of whenever and wherever you tune in from. You are contributing, you are participating. This is timeless. It's not about past, present, and future. This is timeless. It's eternal. So any contribution, whenever and wherever, is a contribution. Equally powerful, equally magnificent as any other contribution. So thank you, thank you, thank you for your being here. Knowing and feeling that all is one, that God is, that we are one with this oneness, that we are one in this oneness, this unity, this one, the whole. I give thanks for all of that which has transpired, all of the insights, all of the realizations, all of the revelations. I give thanks for them. I give thanks for so much more, knowing that this is already done. in the infinite mind of spirit. It's already done. The highest possibility for each and every single one of our lives already is. It's not going to happen. It is. And it is now manifesting here in this dimension, in us and through every single one of us. Only there's the one of us. It is happening now with ease and grace. I let it, I allow it. So it is, so be it, so shall it be. Amen. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, for participating. Until the next time, bless, bless, bless every single one of our ways and every single one of our days. And much love. Namaste. Bye. You've been listening to an episode of the Path to Freedom podcast with me, Daniel Roquéo. I invite you to like and subscribe to be notified when new episodes are dropped. And in between episodes, you can always find me on Insight Timer, the Aura Health app, and YouTube. Or you can visit my website, danielroqueo.com. Until we meet again, I bless your day, and I bless your way. With much love and many blessings, namaste.